I woke up a few days, after the incident, and I was super emotional. I was super emotional. Obviously frustrated. These things have been just happening, so it's like for us to just ignore that was an issue for me, and I feel like me calling the NFL out, me putting that pressure on the league and doing that using my platform wasn't just to apply pressure to them it was to apply pressure for people around me. It was to apply the pressure to myself. We all need to understand these issues that are going on in our country. We all need to not only educate ourselves further on these issues, we need to get out and vote. You know what I mean? We need to get out and vote and be a part of the electoral process of these policies. This was all for me to apply the pressure. I didn't it was all positive intentions. Obviously I made a decision, but I stand by that decision, and I wouldn't have done it honestly if the Vikings didn't have my back and we had not already been talking about these issues previously and already had a council that was diverted to these specific issues. And that's the reason why I really feel like I had to step up, because in order for me to do my part, I need to start using my platform in more of a light to show these issues.
Vikings linebacker Eric Kendricks from earlier in the week. He was the first one, Shireen, to stand up and say of the NFL's initial statement in response to the murder of George Floyd, your statement doesn't say anything. It's not nearly enough. What are you going to do? And I think that contributed to the groundswell that culminated in the NFL employee going rogue and creating, along with Michael Thomas, that video that Kendricks was a part of, that Patrick Mahomes was a part of, and that really went a long way toward getting something much more meaningful out of the NFL. Now we'll see where it goes from here. The Vikings doing something meaningful, a lengthy conference call the other day. You were part of that. What were your big takeaways from what the Vikings are doing collectively to address these issues?
Mike, it was awesome. One of the few press conferences in my career where they start off with, we're not talking about anything football related. And it was terrific. And I just listened. And that's what we are being asked to do as white people, is listen. And it was awesome to hear some of the things that those guys have gone through in their lives. Not talking about football again, but in their lives. And where they are and where they stand and what they intend to do moving forward. And, Eric Kendricks was I think he's become another sort of face of the NFL. I don't know how many people knew Eric Kendricks before this. And I think it was important for a Viking to be part of that video and a Viking to speak out. And Eric Kendricks was the first to call out Roger Goodell and say, hey, you were wrong. That statement that you made said nothing. And it caused the NFL to react after they made the video that the players made last week. And so it was absolutely awesome. It was really long, but it was awesome. I do think, having said all that, they left 3 questions unanswered. How are they going to handle the Minneapolis Police Department? They did not address that. Rick Spielman was on the call. One of their CEOs was on the call. They did not address Colin Kaepernick, wouldn't talk about that. Would they sign him or not? And then the third thing I think they left unsaid was the national anthem. They wouldn't talk about that. And Mike Zimmer has seemed to indicate a couple years ago that he would be against players kneeling for the national anthem. So I do think there are questions that were not answered, but they have taken some steps. They've made the $5 million donation. They've made a scholarship in George Floyd's name. They've taken some of those steps. They're encouraging people to get out and vote and registering players on their team to go vote.
Yeah, the Vikings, one of the few teams that have had, to my recollection, no one kneeling or otherwise protesting during the national anthem in the 3 or 4 years since that first started. And the Colin Kaepernick angle applies to Minnesota in 2 different ways. Number one, Joe Lockhart, the former NFL spokesman, came out a couple of weeks ago and said the Vikings are the team that should sign him right now. And when you look at it from a football perspective, Gary Kubiak, the offensive coordinator of the Vikings, was the head coach in Denver in 2016 when the Broncos were contemplating trading for Colin Kaepernick. The only reason they didn't was because Kaepernick refused to reduce his $12 million fully guaranteed salary at the time. And he fits. He fits with the offense, and all due respect to Sean Mannion, Colin Kaepernick would be a better backup to Kirk Cousins than Sean Mannion.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.